The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
This is Haymaker Combat Sports. Hear it here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet science, MMA, you can get it all from us. Trust, 5 stars cause it's live. And through the fight game, we can guide ya. Slick talking, putting them in caution. Passing all the goals cause the audio is awesome. What you waiting for? Spread the word, tell a friend. This the podcast where all of the discussion ends. When they start going strike for strike, this the show that'll tell you what you seen in the fight. And they ain't playing on the mic, this a welcome to the show. Warm it up for the squad, Haymaker of the bros. I'm about wow, you can hear from the pros. It's Haymaker Combat Sports, time to roll.
Welcome to Haymaker Combat Sports, powered by the Belly Up Sports Media Network. I'm your host, EJ Reed, joined by my fellow hosts, Aaron Admire, Steve Johnson, Chris Sanders. What's good, fellas?
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Same here. And we have a special guest with us here today from the after show, but later, Mr. Daniel Javier Fitts. What's good, Daniel?
What's going on, guys? I'm so excited to be here. You know, I've interacted. I actually got to physically meet EJ in Vegas, a couple weekends ago, and I've interacted with Aaron, so I mean, I'm just excited to be here. I've got to catch a little bit of your guys' stuff. So I got to chop it up with EJ in Vegas. Probably, I mean, we talked fighting, I think most of our interactions. So it was cool. Yeah, we got to chop it up out there in Vegas. It was hot as hell, but talked pretty extensive about that last week. So, but as far as like you said, we were chopping it up in Vegas. Any side missions you went on out there that you may have not gotten the toll on the Carl's page or anything? Well, I did get to tell one that I got to skip out on one of the Cavino and Rich events because we went to go meet, my sister and I went to go meet the people from Boy Meets World. So we got to go meet Sean, Eric, and Topanga. So that was cool as hell. It was a dream come true for me because I was like, I mean, as cool as, Sean and Eric were, man, I thought I don't know if we can cuss on here, but I thought Topanga was going to be my baby mama growing up, And my wife told me, she's like, hey, she's your hall pass. You better shoot your shot. And I was like, baby, I tried. But, she, whatever. But anyway, it was so cool. It was so cool. She's fine in person. If you guys ever get the chance to attend something that she's doing. Yeah. So it was super cool. But that was the only extracurricular adventure that I went on. Everything else was all Cavino and Rich.
Yeah, it was good times out there. We got to get Admire out there next time.
I'll be there next time for sure.
Can't wait.
Before we get into the fights that happened this past weekend, Daniel, just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do in the podcasting world and all that good stuff.
Well, I do a podcast for Cavino and Rich. So you guys know a little bit about Cavino and Rich from Admire and from EJ. But so I've been listening to them for about 13 years, and I've been doing the podcast. We're coming up on episode number 300. So I've been through 2 co-hosts. I'm starting to think I'm the problem. Coming up on a new co-host. Don't know about how that's going, but maybe possibly. But yeah, we just talk Cavino and Rich. Kind of one time Spot had mentioned, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Spot, that don't listen to Cavino and Rich, but he's their producer. And one time Cavino mentioned the show and Spot was like, they don't even talk about us. So, we do go off on tangents, but the main focus is the Cavino and Rich show. And we just kind of, talk about what happened on the show that week, maybe events that happened, or if we think they were kind of full of it on certain conversations, or we usually disagree with Rich, usually lean more Cavino, but that's for the most part really is subject by subject. But yeah, man, we've been doing it for a long time and have a lot of fun doing it.
For sure, it's definitely a cool concept. Like you said, y'all piggyback off the topics that they do and make it y'all own. So I dig it. And y'all had all 3 of them on there, haven't y'all?
I haven't had Rich, but the only reason I haven't had Rich is because I'm sure he'd do it, but I kind of don't want him on there if he's just doing it out of obligation. I feel like Cavino had a good time on it. Spot, it was, just only Spot. And I think since he's the producer, to give him his own kind of time to shine was kind of cool. Rich has got so much going on, and I'll have him on. I'd love to have him on, but I think it'd have to be a little more organic than asking him and then having him schedule time, but yeah, had a lot of Cavino and Rich listeners on, so.
For sure.
Yeah, man. We could never get Rich on, man. On 80 Proof, we always had everybody except for Rich. He would always say he would come on, but they keep him booked with everything. He has so many side gigs and shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, side gigs. I know Rich. I know Rich is freaking. And that's the thing is I don't want to be chasing nobody down. If you want to do it, I feel like you'll make time to do it. And so and like you said, he is busy, but aren't we all busy? I think that's a cop out.
Yeah, dude.
I know you're trying to be nice.
Yeah, when we had Cavino on 80 Proof, he literally was at his daughter's school and went out to his car and did his spot on our show from his car at his daughter's school. He made time for us, and Rich was always like, "Yeah, man, next week I'll be on the show," and then he'd be like, "Oh, something came up, I got to do this," and then he'd be on their show the next day, and he'd be like, "Yeah, I went to the dispensary last night." And, yeah, man, you didn't have a whole lot going on.
Yeah, and Rich was supposed to be on Boot to the Face a couple times, and Chris Rucker couldn't get the schedules lined up. Like you said, there's always some bullshit going on where he can't make it on there. And we've had Cavino here on Haymaker. He blessed us with his presence with the Mike Tyson fight. So, hey, we were talking out there in Vegas. He wants to come back on for the Canelo. So, got to get him back on there before he goes super big time when they get that Dan Patrick spot on Fox Sports. So, for sure. But it was a action-packed weekend of combat sports, and we're gonna switch it up with this show a little bit because usually we do the boxing show separate from the MMA shows, but it's so much going on with boxing in July. We got to get these fights that happened this past weekend in, and it's a lot of tribalism with boxing and MMA fans. So if you're like that, and just skip to the MMA part, and if you're a boxing fan, just cut it off once we start talking MMA. Simple as that. But let's get into it, fellas. Starting off on past Friday in Wichita, Kansas, for some reason. Not too far from Wichita, am I? Like 3 hours, right?
3 hours.
Yeah, I have no idea why they decided to have this fight out there, but Deontay Wilder stepping back into the ring, taking on Tyrell Anthony Herndon. And Deontay Wilder, he's coming off of 2 losses in a row. He lost to Zhang and Parker. So this was his chance, kind of get back on track. And round 1, it was a feeling out round for Wilder. He's using that jab, not a whole lot of activity from either one of the fighters. And then in the second round, Wilder kept flicking that jab. I'm like, it looks like he added a couple tools to the arsenal there. And he had Herndon backing up. And then in that third round, he pretty much, was sparring out there. He kept throwing out that jab, and he was a little bit more aggressive in that third round. He was warming up, I'm guessing. And then in that fourth round, he pressed forward a little bit, was a little bit more aggressive in that round as well. And then he finished that round with like a flurry of punches, and skipping into round 6 or 7. In round 6, he was unloading and started throwing those power punches, so you could start to really see him warming up. And Herndon kept dipping his head. Like, I was confused by why he kept dipping his head, especially in that 6th round. I don't know. It was a little weird. And then that 7th round, that's when, Wilder closed the show. Herndon dropped to a knee. He didn't look like he wanted to be in there. I don't know too much about this Herndon guy, but I think he may be a journeyman. He doesn't have a Wikipedia page. I don't want to throw the C word out there and but, I guess it's really a good warm-up fight for him as far as getting back, Wilder, as far as getting his toes back out there and whatnot. But I don't know, Wilder's turning 40 this year.
That's what it feels like, right? He's up there in age.
Yeah, so what were your thoughts on this one, Admire?
Yeah, coming out, I thought Wilder kind of looked good. He paced himself a little bit better than what we traditionally see. He wasn't throwing the big, heavy power punches out of the gate like, he traditionally does. He kind of paced himself. He really turned it up towards round 5, 6, 7. Like you said, his opponent, Herndon, kind of a journeyman, kind of a can. I did look into his opponents. He doesn't have a Wikipedia, so I went, kind of into his boxing rec opponents. A lot of the guys that he's faced recently, his most recent opponents, no longer box. They didn't have very good records. One of the guys that he did lose to, I can't remember the name, had a really good record, still undefeated. I should remember his name. He's a ranked champion up there now in the heavyweight, I believe. But he's lost. He's beat a lot of guys that just really aren't that good. So it kind of went the way probably everybody expected. It was a big payday for Wilder. You know, being a Wichita fight card, he still made what I'm seeing between $10 and $15 million for this fight. So good payout for Wilder still. He still brings a big check with his name. So I think these are the type of fights that he should probably stick with going forward. He's made it to the top up there. You know, he's had the Fury fights. He's lost those. He's lost a couple others, but he still carries a big name. People are still going to pay him to get in there. People are going to buy his fights, but I don't think that he's ever going to hold a belt. So just take the fights you know you can win, get the cash while it's there, and don't risk taking any more big damage, you know, from people. Stay fighting these lower level guys that aren't going to hurt you too much. And then, you know, I'll finish it off with exactly what you said. Into round 6, Herndon looked like he did not want to be there at all. I actually thought they were going to stop the fight before he could go out for round 7. I was very surprised that the ref let it continue and get that far into round 7. So there you have it.
Chris?
Oh, Wilder did what I thought he was going to do throughout the fight. I like that he was pacing himself. I was looking at him totally different. It seemed like he was getting in his box, like he was becoming a mature boxer. I know it's weird to say about Wilder being a mature boxer, but, you know, he's lost a few fights, so maybe he's changing the game up, taking his time with the fight. It was good to see him. Now that I know his purse, because I was wondering, watching it, like, Wilder, why are you doing this? Like, I was just trying to figure it out. But now you told me his purse, it makes perfect sense. If he can get these type of fights and make this type of money, then my hat goes off to him. Keep doing these fights, because I still watched it. I wanted to see him fight, so he's still a draw. He's still a big draw in the game. And you know, he didn't take it for lightly. He got the guy out of there when we wanted to see it. So that's what we watch Wilder do, get guys out the ring, and that's what he did. So I'm not mad at it at all.
Steve?
Well, I could say on the rise of Wilder, he really didn't have to be on a back pedal, and he intimidated people with his power. And then as we've seen his last losses, he's been fighting on his back pedal. Like his last fights, he's been fighting for his life. So as far as like he has never faced somebody with technical skill to take him to the deep end or have the power to knock him out. I think this was a sacrifice fight to get his head back straight. And he was boxing like he wasn't afraid of the high level skill of his last 3 fights. I would think he lost. You saw him, like you said, flicking his jab, comfortable, not on the back pedal. He was walking him down the whole fight, to where Wilder's last fights, you haven't seen him backing nobody up in a while. It's more of him trying to catch his breath, you know, with Tyson Fury, even the Asian fighter he fought last, he lost to. Zhang, yes. And so this was maybe to get his feet wet again on his style. And like y'all said, keep it in the skill range to not be too up there. And like you said, 15 million for a get your feet wet again fight. I mean, I would do that, you know. Results wise wouldn't go well, but that's a pretty nice purse to keep, you know, busy and make money. I think in the future he'll probably keep steady fights. And maybe if you can so to speak, get up there to where you can make a name fight, to where, who knows, Anthony Joshua's name still is out there. It's just an example. I would say that's a fight to make, but I would just say stay comfortable.
Daniel?
I think it was definitely a confidence booster, you know, getting him back up there, and like you said, that 15 million ain't getting nothing for him to sleep on, you know. So I felt bad for Herndon. There were some points where Deontay's holding him like just straight up like this. Well, he's holding him with one fist and then just throwing some haymakers, right? No pun intended. Bah, 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 and just like holding him with one fist and just, and I was just like, damn, the only thing that dude's going to be boxing soon is produce, because I don't think he's going to be boxing very longer if that fool keeps doing this to himself. But But it was cool, man. I thought it was okay. It was a little more entertaining than I would even say the other fight that we'll talk about, the Jake Paul and Cesar Chavez Jr. But it was, I think if this is a fight to get him, his confidence back up, I think definitely it's something that was worth taking. He was like a minus 1400 on the, before the fight started. So I don't know if you guys, where you are, if you can bet or whatever, but you see those odds and you think it's just going to be a complete domination, which it was. But yeah, I thought it was cool. I always enjoy a good fight. I heard somebody say, I'll watch two grasshoppers fight, and I'm like, I'm kind of like that too. I'll watch anything that, I ain't too biased when it comes to fighting. So I enjoyed it at that level, especially even though this other dude is, fought some like FedEx workers in, his last few fights. It's just all good. I think it was still cool. It was still entertaining.
Yeah, entertaining. It was what it was, like you said. Like it's a fight at the end of the day. But Deontay Wilder, he is 44-4-1. Has his demise been greatly exaggerated? Because if you look at his losses, I mean, Tyson Fury twice. Tyson Fury is an all-time great heavyweight. Joseph Parker, Zhang, no, they're not bums. So does Wilder have more in the tank than people may think he has? And whoever wants to jump in.
Go ahead.
I was going to say no. I don't think he has that much in there, and I'll just say the reason is because I think his rise was just because of timing. The heavyweight division wasn't that great at the time coming up for him. And I mean, he rose very fast, and he wasn't even that great of a boxer. He just had a heavy hand, and he ran through a lot of guys that weren't that great at boxing on his way up. And that's what he made. His bread and butter was just knocking these dudes out. So that's why he's got his name. So he's got to play off of his name. And I wouldn't risk, if I was him, I wouldn't risk going against high class boxers. I would do exactly what he just did. Like I said, just go against guys you can beat. Don't go for gold. You've already went for gold, man. Go for money at this point. You get the money, retire, be done. Don't, if you're going to go for gold, you're going to take damage. You don't want to take damage at this age. That CTE is a motherfucker, man.
Daniel, I think you were trying to say something as well.
I'm always wanting to say something. So, I mean, can't shut me up half the time. That's why I'm trying to bite my tongue right here. But no, I just second whatever Admire said, but I feel like coming up at that time is kind of, I would say is kind of something that I feel like Tom Aspinall, I don't know, what your guys' thoughts are on him, but he's looks so dominant in this division, but it's at a time where it's kind of weak. So I think he's kind of falling into that same trap that Deontay went through. So I don't know, but I don't think he's gonna take like weak fights. I think that he's just gonna, if they offer him whoever again, I think he's gonna go for it because I mean, even though he's getting older, I feel like everybody always has that confidence in them. I mean, I feel like I get in there and and I'll I won't last more than 3 seconds, but I'll do it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like especially if you're a boxer, a fighter, they got there for that confidence, So I mean, it's going to be interesting. Maybe we'll chop it up for the next one that he does, or we'll see where it goes. Cause I'm curious. I mean, I'm a fan. I'm just, I don't know if like Admire said, I don't know if he was just a product of the moment where he was actually got this shine, didn't necessarily deserve it. I don't know. Let's see. We'll have to, I guess time will tell.
I mean, Admire, you're saying that he was a product of a weaker heavyweight division. I mean, I guess that's a little bit true, but I feel like all at one time, him, Fury, Joshua, even Andy Ruiz, they all built it up into being viable again. So I guess it's like a chicken or the egg type of, theory. Like they built it up.
They did build it up, but like Wilder coming up through the ranks, he didn't fight the Klitschko brothers, when they were there. Who was Wilder's biggest win before he burst on the scene? Can you even name somebody, a big name that he beat on his way up before He
But-
got in there with Fury.
To combat that, who did the Crisco brothers fight? Like they didn't. You could say through their whole era, they didn't really have anybody to fight.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Oh, I don't want to. I don't also want to diss the competition. Like what he was doing, let's not minimize what he was doing in that ring for those 40+ wins. He was getting guys out of there. Like he wasn't making it a competition. He wasn't
Right.
even
He
making
was-
it a boxing match. Like he was knocking these guys out. So this is not a boxing match. So I don't want to take that away and say that, he didn't fight no competition. It's just that he was getting these guys out of here. He was that good. I think we need to acknowledge that part of it, like how good he was. Like he was knocking guys out. It was like, oh, we don't see anybody to fight him. And to come under, from my knowledge, from my understand, he was under that umbrella of the Crisco brother. Like he was fighting them to get them ready for fights. Like he was their sparring partner. So from my understanding, he was under that umbrella. That's why he probably would never fight them anyway, or getting that opportunity to get in the ring with them, because they are the ones that brought him in and got him going, from my understanding of the boxing ring. So I think that portion we need to talk to. It's unfortunate that those, like you just named, those 4 fighters, that they didn't give us what we wanted to see. I think boxing has a problem with that, as we always talk about. They don't give us the fight we want to see, or if it's too late. Like now to see Joshua versus Wilder, okay, it's good, but we should have got this years ago. We're not getting the fights from boxing that we need when we need them. And it's not saying it's a bad thing to get it, but Wilder's 40, Joshua's coming off some L's. They're both coming off some L's. We wanted to get these guys when they're both hot. And the circuit, that both got champions on belts on their side. So that's unfortunate for the sport. They missed out on that.
Well, Chris kind of foreshadowing the next question I was going to ask. I was going to go around the room and ask, don't you think he should probably just gun for that Joshua fight next, and instead of try to like do lesser fighters, and just, he could probably get 60, if he got 10 million, 15 million from this past fight, he could probably get 60 or 70 for the Joshua fight, and he don't have to, keep taking damage on fighting lesser fighters. You think that should probably be his next move, is trying to go for the Joshua fight? I'll let you kick it off, Admire.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only, you got to do that fight. I mean, that's the current version of the Mayweather Pacquiao. That fight happened way too late that everybody wanted, and we know this fight's going to happen way too late. Get it while there's still something left before it's even later and nobody has any interest. They both could get super paid off of it, make it still somewhat competitive and have fun with it. You could even end up running it back twice and make twice as much money off of it if you wanted to at this point. Just don't do it before it's way too late. They both carry a heavy name and bring a lot of views. And like you said, Joshua, he has a couple losses, to Usyk on there. He lost that one to Ruiz, and I think he just lost one to Dubois. So, I mean, why not? I think in the eyes of the public in general, I think Joshua has the better record and the higher skill, but Deontay Wilder coming off of a win, Joshua on a loss, I think they're kind of balanced right now. So what better time? Get them in there.
Steve?
Yeah, I would have to agree. I remember the first talks when they were on top of their game as far as before their losses. And they were actually in the talk. Matter of fact, it was talk between Deontay, Joshua, and a few other people if they would fight in, that quadrant is for like 4 people, I think. Now it's like the stings off it, you only hear it amongst people talking about it like us, rather in the actual mainstream tabloids as far as boxing. They're actually like, we're waiting them to, if they crawl back up the ranks or get their wins back, to even be in contention. But as of right now, sometimes your career might rely on rumors of before who you're going to fight. And I think they're in the same location to have to rely on each other, because I can't think of anybody else of the other than them two together that they would get a big fight, because everybody else is, on the rise right now, and they've been losing.
Daniel?
You know what? I think Admire made a good point with so Joshua's coming off of a loss, and then Deontay's coming off of a win. So that does kind of, because in my mind, Joshua's just gonna smoke him. But you're like, I feel like it intrigues fans, especially more casuals, to be like, well, maybe Joshua's not as good as we thought he was. Maybe Deontay's not as weak as we thought he was, right? So I think right now they have to jump on that to get it made right now. What the
We got you, 4th of July early, huh?
Yeah, for those that watch
4th of July.
for those watching on YouTube.
I ain't never seen this before. I don't know what the hell is going on behind me.
Yeah,
Some wild stuff going on back
but
there.
for those watching
Google
on,
me.
yeah, well, for those watching on YouTube, it's fireworks going on.
But yeah, no, but
Daniel.
I think definitely a good time for them to, if they don't jump on it, it's gonna be like Admire brought up, and I wanted to bring up the Floyd and Pacquiao. By the time that happened, everybody didn't even care anymore. It was kind of like, yeah, it's cool that we got it, but it's kind of like Akon and Michael freaking collaborating after Michael died. Like,
Yeah,
it would have been nice when MJ was alive, right? But it's just kind of like, I don't know. Sometimes they just wait a little too long. But I think part of it is selling that what if, right? Well, maybe after this one, they're gonna and after you sell that for so long, and it actually happens, it's kind of like I don't know. So yeah.
So Chris, you mentioned earlier about Wilder and Joshua, maybe a little bit too late. Wilder's probably 40, but at the end of the day, it's still the name value. People are still gonna watch it. They could probably go to Wembley and 80, 90,000, still pack it just for the name value. And people at the end of the day, like Daniel was talking about earlier, people just like seeing fights. And with those, Wilder is more of a heavy-hitter. I feel like Joshua is more methodical as far as those fighters go, but it's still two heavyweights throwing bungalows at each other. Don't you still think, they could still make a buku money off it, Chris?
Oh, 1000%. Then their both names are still, they can like fight me or fight anybody and still make 10 million tomorrow off the fight. We just saw it this weekend. So the money's gonna sell. I just, again, as a fan of the sport and of the game, we missed that opportunity to watch them fight at their key points in their career. I think now we're getting the Pacquiao versus Mayweather fight if we do see them fight, right? There's a lot of excuses. I'm interested to hear each of you guys and tell me who you guys think will win the fight from Joshua versus Wilder if that was to take place.
I mean, I still haven't seen a lot of Wilder's, new tools, so to speak. We got to see him flick that jab out. Just as far as technical boxing skills, I still think Joshua has it, and it's going to take Wilder to knock him out. I know that's like the simple answer, but he's going to have to catch him. And I'll put my money early on Joshua on that. If they actually make the fight, of course, we'll give our official predictions. But yeah, early on, I would say Joshua. I don't know about what you think, Admire, Daniel, and Steve about that.
Yeah, I mean, I would put my money on Joshua. I just think he's got the more technical skill. I think he could. We've seen Wilder kind of gas out before. He did blame it on his walkout in the suit that he was wearing, but I think that Joshua has the tools to wear him down enough, and then kind of TKO him or just wear him down. So my money would be on Joshua, but Wilder's that wild card, man, heavy hand.
Who fought better fighters?
I say they're probably about equal. If you look at, I'd probably give the edge to Joshua. Like you were talking about earlier, Dubois, and didn't he fight Usyk? Didn't he fight Usyk?
Joshua's fought Usyk twice.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely Joshua. Definitely Joshua.
Joshua fought Andy Ruiz twice. Dubois, Francis Ngannou. But then, I mean, you have Wilder. I mean, he's fought Zhang. He's fought Fury twice. I mean, they fought different competition, but pretty. I mean, as of recent, both pretty strong resumes.
I'd give the edge to Joshua just for the Usyk, and then, like you said, Ruiz, former world champion. But Fury, both of them, Fury's on their resume. So I don't know. Who's on your first impression, Steve? Who you think will win that fight?
I would lean towards more Joshua because, from my memory, I think Joshua is one of those heavier heavyweights versus Deontay is not too much of a big heavyweight, if I remember, coming in at 220, I think 225, somewhere around there. Which you got heavyweights, 240, 250.
I think Wilder's even come in at like 210, 215 in some of the fights.
Yeah, small. And compared to his last losses were big dudes. Zhang is a big heavyweight. Tyson Fury is a big heavyweight. He seems to be struggling when he has people with a little bit of weight on him and can outlast his, so to speak, his power and keep it in the latter rounds. Speaking of Joshua, I think is a heavy fighter. You position yourself right, use your footwork, lean on him when the chance y'all have to, and I think he can do what the other fighters did to defeat him, use their weight against him.
Yeah, I agree with that. What do you think? Early thoughts on that fight, Daniel?
I think I would go. I'm gonna go Joshua, and I'm gonna say minus 400. I think.
Really?
I'm just a degenerate when it comes to my betting and my who I want or think is gonna win. I think he's gonna be a heavy favorite. I think maybe if not 400, maybe like. I don't think anything less than like 258. I think he might be like a minus 300 at least. But yeah, I don't know. I'm curious if it does happen to see what the fighting odds are, because I mean I feel like they're kind of evenly matched, but maybe it's just because I'm thinking that Joshua's gonna win. I'm thinking that's the way they're gonna put it. But I don't know. I don't know how heavy of a favorite that he'll be, but I think he's gonna be considerably a favorite. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
I'd probably say it'd be like Joshua minus 280, Wilder plus 200, somewhere around that ballpark. Yeah,
and see, I think that's a good bet, because as much as I think I'm like almost certain I want to say Joshua's going to win, if Wilder's plus money, like you said, plus 200, plus 300, plus whatever, I'm like, I mean, you throw a few bucks at it, I mean, because it's not a definite, like you see, like this Herndon fight that just happened, I mean, Wilder's like a minus 1,400. You're looking at it, you're like, I'm going to spend $1,400 to make $100. You're like, well, that's not even worth it. Because what if some crazy stuff happens and I just lost $1,400 over some stupid, like, I don't know. I would throw some money on Deontay if he is the plus money there. So I don't know, but I do think Joshua's gonna take it.
I could probably tell you how it would go down if Wilder was a plus 300 and you threw some money on it. He'd be kind of tentative the whole fight, and then like the last couple rounds, he'd be throwing some fucking haymakers, and then you're like, oh shit, I'm gonna get my money, and then he didn't beat the bell, and then it just goes to the decision, and you just pissed off going to work on Monday.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's gonna be interesting to see if he can still get some big money fights. Like you said, like he's no spring chicken, and he's about to be on the wrong side of 40. But we'll see how that shakes out. But sticking to the boxing world, the next night we had a very polarizing figure, Jake Paul. It's Chris's guy, right? Jake Paul going up against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. This went down in Anaheim in the Pond. And the first couple rounds, Paul really set the tone. He was moving forward, going to the body up top. And Chavez looked like he didn't want to be there, actually. He was barely throwing anything in those first 8 rounds. And Paul's jab looked good. I mean, say what you want to say about Paul, but he was throwing out that jab. And, I mean, at this point, you can't really say he's just a social media fighter. I mean, he seems like he's really focused as far as training goes, and he even landed that nice uppercut in that 7th round. And Chavez looked pretty lifeless, like I said, throughout the fight until the last 2 rounds, which were the only ones I gave him. He landed some flush shots on Paul, and I'm like, okay, Paul could take a punch, and he made it ugly, but it was a little bit too late. I had it 99-92 Paul. Judging was all over the place. One judge had it like I called it, but what are your thoughts on this one?
So many thoughts on this fight, man. Like, I don't even know what I'm allowed to say, because Jake Paul already came out and said he's suing anybody who says that his fights are rigged. Okay, so I'm going to start with this to start with my point. Jake Paul lost to Little Fury.
Yeah, Tommy.
Tommy Fury, who is like not a good boxer. Jake Paul lost to him. And Jake Paul is now beating really, really good boxers. So something already doesn't add up. We'll start there. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. hasn't been the best boxer as of recent. He's had his ups, his downs, his, outside of boxing, whatever shenanigans you want to say. But he, at one time, was a very, very good boxer, high-level elite boxer.
A champion at one point.
Yeah, world champion.
Fought Canelo, right?
Yeah,
Canelo.
Canelo beat his ass, but yeah, he did fight him.
Canelo. Okay, this is a very, very skilled boxer. This very, very skilled boxer the other night threw 4 punches in the first round and landed 0. This very highly skilled former champion boxer threw 7 punches in the second round and landed 2. This highly skilled champion boxer threw 3 punches in the third round and landed 1. Does this sound like somebody who really fucking tried to box? I mean, come on, man. Like, EJ, what you said, I get it. Paul he looks better at boxing. I'll give him that. He trains his ass off. He looks like he throws a decent jab. He looks like he's trying, but the people he is fighting are not trying. Like, I just read you the stats of the first 3 rounds from Chavez Jr. The last 3 rounds, round 8, he threw 25 punches and landed 11. He landed 44% of his punches in the 8th round. Round 9, he threw 35 punches, landed 17, landed 48%. Round 10, threw 31 punches, landed 38%. That's boxing championship level stats. How do you go from throwing 4 punches in a round to open a fight when you're a fresh fighter, not tired, and then you just start beating ass at the end of a fight? Something's fishy, man. Come on. Like, I was born at night, but not last night. Like, it's just, you don't go from losing to Tommy Fury, a non-boxer that's fighting YouTube stars, and then you're beating the shit out of Mike Tyson, Julio Cesar Chavez. You're beating Tyron Woodley, even though he's a UFC fighter. He's got heavy hands. Like, this doesn't make sense. Like, I'm not giving Paul Brother any more credit until he fights somebody his age that is a real boxer that is active. Like, and he gets no more credit from me.
I mean, you got your tinfoil hat on a little bit though, right? Can you consider that they're fighting at cruiserweight, and what, Chavez was a middleweight champion? Maybe the extra weight, he wouldn't trust his cardio with that extra weight on him. You think about that?
Well, why would his cardio be fucked up in the first round and not the 10th?
Because he was saving it.
He was rested that whole time.
Yeah. He was saving it until he could get a spurt. But it's a lot to unpack with this. So I'm just gonna go around the room. What are your thoughts on this one, Daniel?
You know what? I don't think it's fixed. But if I wanted to say it, I am not scared of Jake Paul taking my $12 in my bank account. So, he can try and sue whatever he wants, but he's gonna have to come after more than whatever's in my bank account. But no, I don't think it's fixed. I just think he's very particular in what he chooses, and he knows that it's like self-censoring, right? YouTube isn't gonna play your stuff if you're cussing in the first however many few minutes or whatever of your episode. And so they know you're going to come on there and you might not officially edit out and post or whatever your bad words, but when you come on, you might be a little more So I feel like these dudes like Cesar Chavez Jr. comes, right? He comes to fight, but he really doesn't even want to be there. He doesn't really care if he wins or not, because he already the check's already signed. So it's kind of like he's coming to fight. I don't think it's fixed. I don't think there's ever any words exchanged or any contract signed about, we're going to throw this fight or whatever. But Jake Paul's, it's his production company, right? That's paying them these crazy amounts of money, if I'm not mistaken, right? I mean, I'm not too all of it, but you're making however much money, just go ahead, punch me around for 8 rounds, and then I'll come and throw a couple, whatever, make it entertaining so people can have something to talk about in the end. But I really don't think it's fixed. I just think the amount of money that these people are getting paid, where they're at in their career. Mike Tyson just turned 59 like today, right? I mean, that's older than my mom, and my mom's been around a minute. She's like 58 or something. But I'm saying like I just think it's not flat out fake. But I don't know. I think maybe these people are. It would be dope, right? If they knocked them out or whatever. But to them, it's probably not even a priority in their life right now. Freaking Mike Tyson's over here, like, I'm about to go in a nursing home. Cesar Chavez Jr., his dad's over there yelling at him, about to ground him. They kept it on the camera on his dad in the corner, and he looked like he was a little kid just getting scolded. And he's probably just like, who cares? Like, so I don't think it's fake. I just think Jake Paul's very particular. I mean, as we've known from the beginning. So I'm not, breaking any glass on nothing over here, but I just think he's very particular, and I think people going into it know what they're getting into, and they're just like, they're trying to go home that night and cash that check. So, yeah.
If for sure. I mean, it's so hard to fix sports, and then if you get caught, like, that's your ass. You go into prison. So I get why people say it, just because he's the annoying Disney kid, and I haven't done a lot of research on like the fuck shit that he's done in the past. I've heard he's like an asshole off camera, but I don't know. I don't know his background, but it's a celebrity coming into your world, so I get why people want to hate. But I don't think it's fixed as well. I think it's like styles make matchups, and like you said, like Daniel said, if they got the money in the bank already, like, I don't need to go out there and work hard. I just don't need to get knocked out by the kid and not completely embarrass myself. But like I said, it's a nuanced conversation. What were your thoughts on this fight, Steve?
Well, of course, Jake Paul has improved in boxing. You can see his skill in there. But we know what legit is, and to me, legit is you're fighting somebody who's active and already talked about. Every person that we talked about literally got prepared off the couch to fight him. Anderson Silva, we heard out, no, he's fighting in Tyron Woodley, and even Chavez. It kind of came out of nowhere. He was fighting him. Yeah, he has skill, but until he fights somebody that is actually known, and hey, if he actually promotes himself to get a Canelo fight, which high chances of that he's trying to do, good luck with that. But other than that, I just can't take him serious. I say this is it's all entertainment, but I qualify this as entertainment boxing, not sport boxing.
I mean, it's all about entertainment, right?
Yeah, but I feel like when we see him, it's like it's a split. This is entertainment, and when we look at Canelo and Crawford, you already know we take that serious professionally. We talk about that, and then when we get to the Jake Paul, it's like, oh, that's that G League.
Well, Chris, I know you've been boycotting Paul fights, but watching the highlights, what were your thoughts on this whole ordeal?
I want to start off with Paul. You know what? He got a lot of my friends and people I know in places and money because, they fought on an undercard. They've been making a lot of money. He put, some people in the limelight. So I want to come with love first, want to thank him for doing that for the sport. He came at a good time, especially with the Mayweather doing it with him and all that, and with his brother and things of that nature. They came at a good time. They found a niche into this sport. And like Steve said, this more looks like almost like the G League of it. Like, it's like, okay, we have a fight here, but like, not to diss it, do we have a fight here? Like, we're coming to see, like, we're hoping, honestly, we're coming now to hope that Jake Paul knocks these guys out because we know he's in shape. We haven't seen him get knocked out yet, so we're hoping that he knocks out these guys. He's fighting guys that are coming off their couch. I don't know if it's rigged because, again, I want to say it is, but I can't because Jake Paul actually lost. So we have evidence of him losing a fight before. Are these guys coming prepared? No. Are they throwing like Chavez? Come on. He came into the game like his father, throwing hundreds of punches around, throwing 4 punches around. It doesn't even seem like that's in their blood. That's something that they would never do. So that it's just stuff like that. You're watching it in your own eyes. Your eyes give yourself a test. It's like, what am I watching here? You know. But again, I just want to understand. I just don't understand Jake's what's the is this the lane that we're going in, or what's the goal out of this? Are we gonna turn and go for belts? Are we gonna like these are like that? Like, you know, we always talk about guys fighting the laundryman or the mailman or whoever, right? These could be his. I don't have a problem with these fights, but what are we going to do after this? Are we going to bring it to the next competition? Are we going to go to C-level competition? Are we going to go to B-level competition? Are we going to go and try to get to belts and stuff? Or are we just going to stay in this entertainment fighting? And that's what I want to see.
Well, after his fight, Jake Paul did call out Gervonta Davis and Anthony Joshua.
And he said he wants to be a cruiserweight world champion. He called out those two people who aren't in this division, but he also called out Zurdo and Baju Jack. So do y'all think he has a chance of maybe contending for a title? And I'll let you kick it off, Amar.
Well, I mean, does he deserve to fight for a title? No, he's not beat anybody to deserve to fight for a title. But will he fight for a title? Most likely, because boxing, we know, is all about money. And he's going to bring money. He's going to bring views. And, I mean, kind of like what Chris was saying is, you know, he's bringing the eyes. He's bringing a lot of stuff to the sport that wouldn't have been there. So you got to, and we talked about it when Kavino was on, you kind of got to respect what he's doing. And that's why he's going to get a shot. He will get a shot at a title, whether he deserves it or not, just because of what he's doing for the sport. He's not going to win, but that's the time you're finally going to see him get stomped out by somebody. You put him in there against somebody like Badu Jack or another guy that's a real champion holding a belt. And I mean, they're just going to go balls to the wall and smoke him within a round or two. And then everything's going to be answered. And I think that's why you're seeing him do these fights. He's making the money while it's there, because once he finally gets what he's asking for, all the fights are off. Like, it's done. Like, you're not going to get this anymore. So that's what you got.
So Amai says no. Daniel, you think Paul will be competitive in a world championship match?
You know what? I think he could be actually competitive if he gives himself actual time. You know, if he tries to do it in like a year or so, I don't think, I mean, I think he will get smoked, but I don't think he's dumb enough to do that. I think if he really is taking it seriously and really is training and really, you know, obviously he's training, but I'm saying, like, if he's thinking long term and he is thinking, because a lot of it is entertainment. So you think he's like, oh, I'm going to be the best in the world and I want Canelo and, you know, fucking dig up, you know, Muhammad Ali and I'll fucking fight him too or whatever. But like, it's all entertainment. So, but if he's actually serious about going for a belt, I think he has a chance in the future. I mean, he in the future, but not in a year or so. But I don't think he's dumb enough to put himself through that. And I mean, like Admire was saying, he might get, you know, knocked out in the first round or two, especially if it's a champion and they want to be able to, you know, somebody that's been in the game, they have 30 fights under their belt or whatever. And they want to come out and be like, I'm the one that knocked him out. Yeah, he tried to come for this gold, but I knocked him out, right? Or whatever. Like, I don't think he's going to put himself in that position until he's, you know, certainly ready. But I don't know. I was initially going to say, will he ever fight for a belt? I was going to say no right off the bat. And then when Admire brought up the money, I'm like, oh yeah, no crap, right? Obviously, if money's involved, I mean, they're going to get him eventually. I just don't know when that'll be. So, will he ever fight for gold? I think so. Will he ever obtain it? I don't know. I'll say no for now. If I have to give an answer, I'm gonna say no.
I mean, his chances are higher than it would be in a sport like UFC, when it's just like UFC organization. Boxing has so many sanctioning organization, and you have 4 world championships he could possibly obtain. And cruiserweight is not the cruiserweight of old. It's not your granddad's cruiserweight division when Holyfield was in there. knocking fools out. So I don't know. Never say never. What do you think, Chris?
Jake, just watching him, to be honest with you, as a fighter, he don't put punches together. He don't put no combinations together. He don't put the defense is not there. Like if we're talking about a real champion fight and watching the fight, I just don't see it. I don't see the combinations there. Like he's not putting more than 3 punches together. You need to have at least 4 to 6 punches together, combinations, right? Especially at that cruiserweight status. You need to be putting that together. And I've been wanting him to get into that where I watch him fight these fighters. Well, he's putting those type of punches together. He's giving us 1 or 2 punches at a time, maybe 3 if we're lucky. We never really see him get off combos. So it'll be nice to see if he really wants to take this serious. In my eyes, I like to see him start getting the combos off on these type of opponents where he's getting three combinations off, 1, 2, 3, throwing some 4 combinations, and then when he get them in trouble, hit those 5 combinations in. But we haven't seen that. All we've seen him is just the flicks, the hits and goes, the pop and goes. I mean, even Muhammad Ali did a pop and goes, but he hit those combinations on you when he needed to. So I think that's the difference from when I look at him as he's fighting these boxers. That's the difference when I see the level. Because he lost to a boxer, but he lost to Fury's brother.
Yeah, Tommy Fury.
He lost off just points, and that's the combinations. Those are the combinations he needs. So those are the punches he needs to get the win. So I just don't see it when it comes to that C level, the B level fighters just getting past that pool when the combinations come in. Because the A levels, they got the combination in the defense. I just don't see it.
That I think real quick too, Chris. That fight IQ is, I think, something that he needs to build up. Like you're saying, that's why Floyd was one of the best in the game, because he wasn't going to knock you out, but he was winning on points because he knew how to touch you. He knew that, right? He was getting those. I don't know if Jake's IQ is, ever going to be there. So I don't know. We'll have to see.
But will he get an opportunity? Of course, there's money behind it, right? Why wouldn't you give him? There's 4 different belts. You could throw him in there somewhere to get the money out of him. But I don't see it really lasting well for him, because I say C-level fighters might give him a problem if he had a trouble with Fury, and I don't look at him as a threat to any championship belt.
Yeah, I'm with y'all for the most part, but money talks, so we'll see how fast they throw him into the fire.
Like wants it so bad to be 100% real, and he just no, just like anything. He's like, no, guys, you don't know. Like, and I know, EJ, you do come from some of that WWE world, and you're just like, please, please just lie to me, So I love the enthusiasm where everything is like, but what if? Because it gets my wheels turning,
Mm-hmm.
It was an awkward moment. If y'all saw the post-fight interview, they asked Chavez, like, how does he look? He's like, yeah, he can box, but I don't think he'll do well against real fighters. It was like an awkward moment. That was just like an awkward moment, him standing. And like Daniel was saying earlier, you got his dad in the crowd just looking at him in like disgust. I feel like he can never like get the satisfaction and the approval of his dad, just living with the shadow of it. He's like, motherfucker, like, you're not my seed. I mean, how many father-son world champions, though? His dad has to be proud somewhat, but his dad before the fight, he's basically saying like, there's no way he's losing to Paul. I'll disown him if he loses. I didn't see his post-fight reaction though. So
I saw a tweet that somebody had put out. They were like, if Chavez Jr. loses, he's going to set Mexicans back at least 100 years. And I was like, well, we better get ready to get set back, because I'm pretty sure that we're going to get. I didn't think it was going to be as lopsided as it was, but I mean, come on. I figured it was going to go. Especially, did you guys get to see freaking Chavez Jr. on the scale, looking all twacked out with his eyes all crazy?
Shit, no, I didn't.
Did you guys see that weight or no?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't see the weight?
He always looks coked out.
He looked so. Yeah, it was like. Yeah, I think he got his bag early and went and bought a bag. I mean, I'm just
hey,
how much did he make? Anybody know how much he made?
Let's see.
Yeah, I could see him making 8 figures. If Paul's probably in with 50, probably.
At least, 8.
Just
Paul made
50. I'm just guessing. I have no clue, but I'm just guessing. Probably at the minimum. I mean, is the zone? This is the zone fight. I know this last fight he's with Netflix with the Tyson fight, but I had to been a pretty big bag. And like Daniel saying, they're out in LA too, so he probably did pick himself up a bag after he weighed in or before he weighed in, just tweaked out of his brain. But while you looking at that, Admire, to close this one out, Steve, you think he would be competitive in a world title match?
I'm a boxing fan, but like I know there's a sweet science to it, and even me to what I know about boxing, it's amateur level, and I know there's levels to it, and maybe to reference like Floyd Mayweather, Pernell Whitaker, and do a little MMA reference, Anderson Silva. When you throw those combinations, and it's that when certain people think of combinations, they're thinking of punches. But when I think of a high level combination fighter, I'm thinking of 1, 2, 3, 4 dodging, and you have multiple steps behind your punches, and all he does is pop, 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 and then move. It's more advanced than that, and I see that's where he stops as far as the skill level. He gets to those higher level dudes who know how to slip and pop, 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 and then slip again, sort of like a Floyd Mayweather. He's going to be in some deep trouble because the best way to explain it, he's a linear fighter.
Well, I mean, he's only been boxing for 5 years or so now. Time's kind of flying.
I think that's where is that he's only been doing it that many years. These people have been doing it since they were 5.
Yeah,
and to get that second nature, fighting IQ. I don't know if he's ever going to be there. I don't know if he can ever get there.
I mean, sometimes it's muscle memory, sometimes it's learned. Sometimes you can't teach certain things as far as mechanics and technique goes. But I don't know. Who knows? Did you see what he got paid out?
It's pretty sad, man. It's pretty sad. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. $750,000.
Wow. I didn't expect that. I thought he at least get 2-3 at the very least.
$750,000.
Now, saying Jake Paul likes to provide opportunity for fighters, is it good to do legends like that?
Now, it doesn't say it, but I'm wondering if they gave him pay-per-view points. I don't know. Because Jake Paul, it says his paycheck, because they have to disclose it through the athletic commission. Jake Paul's pay was only $300,000 for the fight, but he owns the promotion who did it, so he could make more through the promotion and pay-per-view points himself. So I don't know if Chavez Jr. got pay-per-view points, bonus on the side, but his official paycheck was $750,000.
750.
On paper, he made less than Chavez Jr. You said Jake Paul, how much? 300?
300. So he made less than half.
That's interesting. I would not.
That's all I was saying, EJ. I was like, I ain't making that much money for that. It was, but where's Chavez gonna get 700 at right now? I gotta look at it like that. Where's he gonna get 200 at right now? So
he ain't gonna make that on the local circuit.
Yeah, he ain't gonna make that anywhere. So I ain't mad at it. And it's if he's in shape enough, he won't get knocked out. That's kind of a risk you can take for 700. I'm not mad at it.
In one payday, I mean, there's very little things I wouldn't do for 700 in one payday. So I mean, yeah,
that's good and all, but you gotta pay your managers and you gotta pay taxes, so that's probably dwindled down. I mean, like I said, $750, that's nothing to sneeze at, but after he's probably only taking in if he's doing the right things, especially with the taxes. You don't want to Wesley snipe yourself, but he probably would take in 200, 300 probably. But
300.
Shit.
Well, it's a far cry from Julio Cesar Chavez's biggest purse. It says here his biggest was 1996, 15 million.
Wow.
Was that his dad?
It might have been.
It must be his dad. Because I don't think he's never made big money like that. I don't think he probably only
like in his early 40s.
Yeah, I know. Was that around the time he fought Golden Boy?
He only,
Nope, his biggest was against Canelo at $6
Yeah.
million.
yeah, I don't think he's made big money like that in this sport.
$6 million. So I mean, yeah, I mean he's taking quite the pay cut.
I'm so surprised you said it. Paul only made 300. That's the shocking thing.
On paper. On paper, that's what they
But
have
he owns the
disclosed. But he's still gonna get. He owns a production company, so all the ticket sales, all the pay-per-view buys, he's gonna take off the top. That doesn't have to get reported through the athletic commission.
Well,
it's a nice bag. He came home nice. He's all right.
Fighter pay, he only claimed 300,000, but production pay, he's gonna get a lot more than that.
And I'm sure they gave Chavez some money off the top too. They probably hooked him up.
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of got to respect Paul for doing this because he made over 30 million off the Mike Tyson fight alone. He doesn't have to do this. Like he could ride off into the sunset and be set for life. I don't know how much total he's worth, but if he made 30 million alone off the Mike Tyson fight, he could just be done for good and retire, never be heard of again. So, I mean, he's doing it out of something. I mean, I don't think it's the love of the game. I don't know what it is 100% for, but he's doing it for something.
yeah, I don't know. You know, they never disclose all of the financial going on that's happening there. You know, it's probably a little bit of shady shit going on, but he's gonna be eating good. So,
and did you hear about Jake Paul's house that he just bought? He just bought a house down in Georgia. I can't remember how many $1 million it was. It's insane amount, and it's on 5,000 acres.
5,000. That's insane. I mean, that seems to be the trend. I know 50. No, Rick Ross, 50. One of them had a house. No, 50 had in New Jersey. Rick Ross has something like that out there in Georgia on a crazy amount of land. Like,
yeah, Rick Ross's house is insane. Yeah, Jake Paul's house, it's 5,653 acres in South Georgia. Paid $39 million for it.
geez.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So, I mean,
But that's the Mike Tyson fight. That's why he's fighting, guys. There you go. You just said it.
yeah. So it's definitely not going to be the last we see of the Pauls, Logan or Jake. So we'll see what happens with them in the future. But switching gears, let's move on to the MMA side of things. UFC 317 going down there in Las Vegas. Tommy and Daniel were just there last week. We just missed it. But International Fight Week, we talked about it on the previous show about the hype has kind of died down from International Fight Week. But, you know, it's still a thing. And starting off with the prelims that went down on ESPN Plus and Disney Plus. Heavyweight division, we had Jonata Denise defeating Alvin Hines by decision, unanimous decision at that. Welterweight division, we had Jacoby Smith defeating Nico Price. And I don't know, did anybody see Jacoby Smith's post-fight interview with Joe Rogan? It's a little weird. It was a little weird. It was a little cringe. So if y'all got a chance, go back and look at it. He just kept saying, Joe Rogan just kept screaming. And I'm like, this is weird. It's not for me, but he was a big favorite on that, and people thought he should have got Nico Price out of there sooner, but he still got the submission, the rear naked choke. But I'm not going to spend too much time hopping on that fight. Let's move on to the preliminary card. Lightweight division, we had Terrence McKinney defeating Vyacheslav Borchev by submission, guillotine.
Mhm.
Women's flyweight division, Tracy Cortez. She's been not the most active fighter, but she went in there and defeated Vivian Araujo by unanimous decision. Featherweight division, we had Jose Miguel Delgado defeating Hyder Amil by KO, knee and elbows. And to cap this one off, and we'll definitely be talking about this one, middleweight division, we had Gregory Rodriguez defeating Jack Hermanson by KO. And I don't even know where to start. So, anybody, y'all get to see the Terrence McKinney fight?
No, I did not see that.
I
one.
saw it. Yeah, I saw it.
So we talked about on the previous show how he's up and down, but he went in there and did what he needed to do. He basically took him down at will and was able to tap Borshlev out pretty quickly. And
Very quick, yeah.
yeah, I don't know. You got to see that, Steve. I know you,
Yeah.
McKinney guy.
If I remember, he got him with a mounted guillotine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that, and you really would see McKinney as a striker, but he got his submission.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, he's such an up and down fighter. Is this what probably kickstarts him and getting some consistency, Steve?
I would say, because he was a good striker, but I think he hit a point of his career where there's levels to it, so he has to incorporate. You know, when somebody wants a KO and they like, man, I don't have to take you down, and then it gets to a point in your career to where, like, you know what, to keep on winning, I have to get a submission when it's there. And I think this is one of those wins to where he used his grappling and submission skills to get the fight done rather than letting somebody stand back up and continue the stand-up battle.
Yeah, he looked good, so I'd like to see him keep that train rolling. And Tracy Cortez, I mean, it wasn't the most exciting fight, but I kind of want to go around the room, and this is more of a general question, because Tracy Cortez, she's with Brian Ortega, they were dating, and I mean, this wasn't the main card, but this is still a big card. Do you think sometimes UFC puts the pretty woman in good positions just to get more eyes on it? Because she only fights averages like once a year, and she's always hurt, but she's still pretty highly ranked, so I don't want to take away from that, but do you think that kind of gives them the bump on getting a little bit more eyes on them? I'll let you kick it off, Daniel.
No, why you gotta let me kick it off first, man?
Gotta switch it up, I gotta switch it up.
Well, all right. Whenever she mounts anybody, I'm locked in because of her skill set, right? And just so all right. I've gone and watched, some fights with my buddy, and it's funny as hell because we'll be sitting there, right, and we're all like locked in, and then if there's a fight like Tracy Cortez or somebody, and they get them mounted, and we're just like, and so I don't think if they're, I mean, when she got her eyelashes kicked off last fight, I was like, oh man, now she's gonna look a little pretty, so that's kind of weak, but I'm a huge fan of the sport, but I don't mind. I mean, looking at some cheeks when they get mounted, So I mean, I mean, if that's not in their plan, I mean, it wins me over sometime. She could fight Jake Paul, and I'll be stoked. I'll watch her fight anybody. So I mean, that's just me, just being a little pervert. So thanks for letting me go first, EJ.
No problem. She's from the Arizona area. I don't know how far. I know she's in Phoenix, and yeah. Yeah, and
it's about 3 hours.
So not too close, but she, Arizona.
Yeah. No, it's not that bad of a drive though. I mean, before we went to Vegas, I drove actually to Scottsdale, so in the same area. And I mean, I drove up, watched my daughter perform because she had a pageant thing, and then had dinner, and then drove back home because I had to work the next day. So it was like, I mean, it's not that crazy of a drive. So I mean, if she wanted to, I mean, I'd have to get the okay from my old lady, but I would make the drive, no problem. So yeah, it's nice out there. I went to Phoenix, it was like almost 10 years ago, but yeah, I like the area, man. It's different than the desert vibes and whatnot, but I don't know. 113.
What's that?
113 today. Right now it's 109. Almost 70.
Sounds like that's death if you don't stay hydrated. That's instant death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's rough out there. But
any more on here? I want to go next.
Am I like? What do you think? Like them kind of like maybe capitalizing off some of these women fighters' look.
Yeah, definitely they do. I mean, it's just easier to market when somebody looks better. I mean, it's just good business practice. Why wouldn't you? I think I'm not trying to be mean here, but I think that's kind of why you never seen Chris Cyborg ever really get the push. She, one of the toughest, meanest female fighters there was of all time, but she just didn't have the looks to go with it. So I think that's why she never really got the big push from a lot of the organizations, because she just, when you have the looks, you got that marketability, like Ronda Rousey, she was the big headliner for the female fighters, so she had all the companies wanting her to be the model, the woman strong, the girl power, but when you ain't got the looks, they can't market you like that. So for sure, yeah, it's good business.
Steve?
I can say that because I remember a few times they tried to promote a sort of subliminal, beauty fight. If I remember, like a Rachel Ostovich against
Was it
blonde.
Crowley Hottie?
Was it Michelle Watterson?
Maybe so, but also she bare knuckles too now.
I know they did. I didn't know Paige fought Ostrovich, but I know Paige Van Zandt.
Yeah,
I know she fought
Bare knuckle.
Oh, they did. Okay.
I think so, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think they even fought. Bare knuckle too, if I'm not mistaken.
I know before Rose cut all her hair off, they really played on that with Paige and Rose when they fought each other, and they like.
Rose
There's some unspoken woman royalty, you know what I'm saying, within the UFC. And like you said, I could say they promoted Ronda for that. And this is where certain people say things and you can let other people say it. And I think, like you said, let Dana say it. Admire said Chris Cyborg, and he said out of his mouth, she looks like Wanderlei Silva with heels. So that's probably why, he didn't get her in fast enough, or he just didn't feel like she was promotable enough. You just, if you don't have beauty, and that's up to the masses to decide that, everybody got their playing, whatever. But if you're gonna, I would say if you are a beautiful woman, you're definitely promoted to a higher status of not having to fight as much and whatever. And I think that also depends on your social media status. Because let's be honest, let's act like half of these UFC women ain't getting the OnlyFans page.
Oh, so you saying if they didn't get an OnlyFans page?
No, I'm not saying that, but what kind of installs the beauty of these women and how they promote themselves and bras, swimsuits. They do that on their social media. Not only that, having an OnlyFans page, promoting their beauty, which sort of instills where they are in UFC hierarchy beauty. And you kind of see that how they're promoted. Like, Tracy Cortez, she's not even a elite fighter in the women's division, but she only fights once or twice.
She's still ranked though. She's still ranked though.
Yeah. But then again, like, Paige Van Zandt.
Yeah, they pushed Paige Van Zandt like hard.
And she was never up there top. And she got through, I think, because of, her so-called beauty. So,
well, I think it was right after the Paige Van Zandt and Rose fight. Rose was like, I don't like everybody's talking about a lot of stuff outside of the actual fight. And that's why she cut her hair. She was like, I don't want people to talk about my looks over my fighting. She said, fuck it. She buzzed her hair off. So
joke's on her. I'd still do it.
There we go.
But you do have women installing themselves, to be looked at as far as in a, the feminine way we look at these female fighters. Like what you got Alina Lopez doing a little twerk after the win. You're starting to get those women are starting to get their status up. People want to watch that.
What was that, Daniel?
I said she got her leaked photos out there too. They're leaked, supposedly. You should be putting them out there.
I need to check this out for research purposes.
Yeah,
Lopez.
I mean, I'll be honest. My buddy told me that a lot of the bad UFC chicks have leaks out there. So I'm just saying. I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, yeah. I'm just saying, my buddy. But no. Yeah, I have a surefire way for you guys to make money if you guys are betting people. So if there is a chick fight, I'll tell you 9.9 times out of 10, this will work. You vote or put your money on the uglier chick. Now I'm telling you, because the uglier chick is usually more pissed off. So if you have a chick that looks like a dude and you have like a pretty chick, even decent looking, most likely this chick that looks like a dude, that she is gonna beat the pants off of the chick that's pretty hot or decent looking. And you guys are probably rolling your eyes right now, but I'm telling you, next fight, just look. Even if they're both ugly, the uglier one, I bet you, is gonna win. I'm just telling you, I made plenty of money off of this theory.
I don't know how much scientific backing this has been done on this, but so do so at your own risk. Hey, I say, hey, try at your own risk for those who listen to this.
You don't even got to put hypothetical money or like Jazz from Fresh Prince is hypodermical money on you know. So hypodermically speaking, put some money on the uglier one, and then you know. I'm telling you, most times, I mean, I don't know if it's because the prettier one is getting her hair and nails done, and the uglier one just, you know, has to get her face touched up, and that's it. I don't know, but I'm just saying, you guys are gonna remember me in the next fight. You guys are gonna be like, oh shit, that dude was right. Watch,
I'm gonna keep a mental note and come back and see if it works.
I expect a text when the ugly chick wins. All right, EJ?
We still got the main card to talk about, so we'll let you close this one out, Chris. What do you think about?
Yeah, of course. I mean, sex sells. So on that note, just on that, that's gonna sell. You know, the beauty sells for women. That's in every sport: tennis, basketball, volleyball, whatever sports is that. You know, they kind of lean in that direction. Not saying the player or the fighter wants to be in that limelight. They probably want to be looked at as a fighter. They probably want to be looked at as, you know, their respective role or whatever position they play. But that's almost, you know, that's just the world we live in. That could be in jobs or anything. You know, they always market to the women, the beauty of the side of, even to other women. Women love to see other women that are beautiful. All I hear from my wife is, "Oh, she's so pretty. Oh, she's so beautiful." You know, they just love that. She loves being complimented by other women as well. So, you know, they try to sell that. That's an easy way for them to get eyes on the sport as well. So it works in both ways. Nothing wrong with that. It doesn't hurt for us to see a beautiful girl fight, right?
Yeah. They say sex sells, so I'm sure she's gonna get a favorable position on whatever card they put her on next. But before we do jump into the main card, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about maybe the knockout of the year. Gregory Rodriguez went in there against Jack Hermanson and sent him to the fucking shadow realm. Oh my goodness. Left hook, and then he was out about before he hit the canvas, and then he did another hammer fist, you know, just for good measure. I think we talked about this before, Herb Dean's reffing, but people were complaining about Herb Dean not getting in there early. But even before we talk about that, like I said, knockout of the year candidate. I don't know if all of y'all saw it live, but did y'all all see it at least on the replay? What do y'all think about this knockout?
I mean, it reminded me a lot of, you know, Dan Henderson, Michael Bisping. Herb Dean was late, man. Like, and a lot of people stood up for him. A lot of people stood up for Rodriguez. The rule is you fight until the referee stops it. So, I mean, fighters aren't supposed to police themselves, and it's not his job to hold himself back. I mean, you kind of want to have safety for the other fighter, but what if he wouldn't have been out and got up and then ended up getting his ass kicked? I mean, he landed the one more shot. I mean, Herb Dean really should have been paying attention. The left hook was a good shot once you watch it on replay, but it kind of came out of nowhere. I don't think Herb Dean was ready for a knockout to happen, and that's why he wasn't there that quick. I mean, it was just a quick, you know, left hook, boom, out, and then delay, okay, hammer fist, boom. So I blame 100% Herb Dean for that one. I can't blame Rodriguez because you fight until the ref stops it. You know, can't blame Hermanson. I mean, not like he tried to get knocked out.
And it was, I never heard like arena that quiet. Because initially, of course, the crowd cheered, but like it went from loud to quiet real quick. It was kind of eerie. But Steve, did you get a chance to look at this?
Yeah, I did.
What were your thoughts?
Yeah, man. I guess you know those knockouts that are bad when the fight in the next fight after that, they had to update us on his health.
Yeah.
That's how bad he got knocked out. He's like, well, he's doing okay. And shoot, we haven't seen one of those in a while. Somebody, you know, you have to update on their health. But I guess everything goes right until you go wrong, and that's what I think happened. He was looking good, avoiding those shots, and then, like I said, we got Rodriguez looking like his old self, before he hit his little stumble, and he's knocking people dead again. It's Hermanson, which is I would say used to be a high level top 5 or going into the top 5 contender. Yeah, it looks like he's got a good win. He's looking good himself again, and looks like he's going to be getting another recognizable fighter again for his next fight. He's getting back on track. But yeah, that's another warm up before what was coming up. So I appreciated that knockout. It got me hyped for the next fight.
Chris, did you get a chance to see the knockout?
Yeah, I mean, it was fast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was watching it, I was like I was at a party at an event watching all these fights. So I'm saying happy birthday, looking at the phone, happy birthday, with open up presents. So it was a cool just to have the the access of these phones. But watching it, man, I thought this fight, I didn't know he had that in him, to be honest with you, like that. I mean, it was over, then it got devastated, and you can hear everybody's reaction at the party, like, oh, just it was just devastated in a sense. So glad to hear that the gentleman's okay. Like you said, hearing that the next fight, oh, he's all right, he's stable and things of that nature, that's good. But yeah, I want to see more from Rodriguez, man. This was good. Got him out there real quick. The punches came in nice and tight. Like I like to see him as someone that loves boxing and seeing that in this sport as well. Once they get you like that and they get you on the floor, it's devastating. There's nothing you can do. Like you're just unconscious. It's like the fight's over. So protect yourself at all times, man. That's just the rule of the game.
Dan, you get a chance to see the KO?
Oh yeah, I got to see that, and it was actually a little scary. And I agree 100%. It's not his job. It's not RoboCop's job to police himself, And I even felt like he waited a half a second. He saw him go down, and he kind of kicked it for a minute. And I mean, it felt like an eternity, and it felt like a split second at the same time, But because he was like, he seen him go down. And then he just like, well, like Admire saying, what's he gonna do? Let him get up and come after him now? So he just went and another one for good measure. And then by that time, Herb Dean's running across the octagon, and it was just like, it was scary, to just see him out that cold for so long. That's where you heard the crowd get really quiet and like, oh crap, like you start to really wonder. As much as is, I think a lot of the people that are there, right, we're fans of the sport. I wasn't there, but that are watching it, and you see this, you're like, oh damn, like you don't want to see anybody get severely hurt. I mean, a broken nose, whatever, broken hand, foot, whatever, it happens all the time. But seeing something like that, it's like, oh crap. And then watching that, you're like, and then what made me laugh was John Anik, because John Anik is such a professional. He was like, he's still out. And we're going to go to DraftKings for 30 seconds, and we'll be right back to check on his condition. And then it's a little pop-up comes up of John Anik, and he's like, you could bet on anything. How many takedowns are they going to get? How many? And then they come back, and then he's like, oh, yeah, by that time, the dude started kind of waking up a little bit. But, man, it was devastating. But again, you can't ever blame the fighter, And what sucks is I think if something really bad would have happened, there would have been more casuals that would have been like, well, why did, like, I could think of like my mom, right? Because my mom watches a lot of UFC, but she would have been like, he didn't have to do that, And I feel like if something severely, bad would have happened, or it would have been a lot more of those comments. But it's not their job to do that. Their job's to get in there until the ref's pushing them off, jumping in between them, or and you can't blame somebody for doing their job, Like, what's the old saying? I don't come to your job and slap the dicks out of your mouth or whatever, or whatever that old shit is. But it's true. You can't fault nobody for doing their job. That's what he's doing.
Yeah. And like, I don't want to criticize Herb Dean too much, but it seems like, I don't know, it's been amplified the past 5 or so years that he's been kind of fucking up as far as, reffing. But, that's a hard job to do in there. So, like I said, like you say, like you can't criticize too much. I mean, he's been in the UFC 20 years or so now. So I
They
don't
say
know.
don't call him Herb Dean for nothing.
Exactly. So it was scary. Good thing Hermanson, I think they did, like Steve was saying, they were updating. He seems to be okay, but he's definitely going to be on a suspension list from that. And like I said, it was one of the KOs of the year. But moving on to the main card, and it's getting late early, so I'm kind of like a speed round for the first 3 fights on this card. To kick this one off, we had Peyton Talbot defeating Felipe Lima in the bantamweight division by unanimous decision. And I mean, Peyton Talbot, he lost his last fight, but he was able to get back on track on this one. You think he looked good in this one, Admire?
He looked better than his last fight that he lost. Still didn't look like he had the first couple fights. We've seen him in the UFC, but this was, kind of that first test back. How do you react to that first loss? And I mean, he's on the right track back. I think the UFC is going to start throwing a little more and more into him, build him back up, because he's supposed to be that new, that new young gun. And I think they're back to throwing their weight into him.
Man, Steve, you back on the Talbot hype train?
A little bit. He gave a little bit of redemption for himself, because he looked like he looked good, but he looked like he's not even grazed the top whatever, and he seemed like he had a little bit of a hard time with Lima. A little bit of adversity. Not saying he's too much outmatched, but Lima didn't go away like so easily. Compared to his previous fight before he lost, he was just going through people. And maybe this may have been a style fight, but as far as how he was being promoted, tearing through people, I mean, your prestige is also due to how you came up. And this is a decision and not a total dominancy. So who knows if it's a little bit higher competition, if he'll hit a roadblock. I have high hopes for him because I see the skill in him, but hopefully he's not a one-trick pony or a few tricks to where he stops when he gets to graze the top 15 or 10.
Yeah, I mean, he's still young, so it's still time. I know you didn't get a chance to watch it, Daniel, but were you ever on the Talbot hype train? Because he got a lot of hype before that first loss.
No, I mean, I didn't get to see it, and I wasn't really on the train anyway. I think that's why I kind of really didn't care if he missed it or not, to be honest. So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. Like I say, I think he's like 26, and they featured him on Embedded, so I think they got high hopes for him. But we'll see what happens with him going into the future. But moving on to Admire and Steve picked Talbot in this one. But moving on to the next one, we had Beneil Dariush defeating Money Moicano, a character, in the lightweight division by unanimous decision. And besides that knockdown at the end of the first round, I mean, I feel like Dariush pretty much controlled this whole fight. I was expecting a little bit more out of Moicano. What are your thoughts on this one, Amar?
Yeah, man. Glad to see Dariush back. This is the guy, the fighter that he was before he lost Oliveira. This is the guy that was up there ready to fight for a title. So I'm glad to see Dariush just working his way back up, back to his old form. I mean, he outstruck him, like doubled the strikes. He had 5 takedowns, landed all 5 of them. Looked great. So hope to see him, back up towards the top, ready to fight for a belt one day.
Steve?
Yeah. I have a little bit more faith in Moicano, but it's more as he get these opportunities with these fighters that we've known over the years. It just lets me know where his skill level is at. And it seems like when he fights these certain people, either doesn't have the as we saw, I didn't think he had the gas tank for Dariush. And if you can't survive the gas tank with Dariush, I mean, I think there's other people in the division that could definitely smash him with, if we're even talking about Islam, if he's, coming back, or to Topuria. That's what I think about it.
Thoughts on this fight, Chris?
Dariush, man, I thought he was gonna lose when he got dropped. I was like, oh, this is gonna be over. I was paying attention to the kids at the party. Next thing I know, he just got better and better as the rounds kept going and as the time kept going. He just kind of locked in. So that knockdown or that little knockdown woke him up, it seemed. He just got to it, got aggressive. He got to it. So shout out, that was a good fight for him.
Daniel.
I'm so sorry, guys. My daughter just got here, and her ass managed to break her iPad and get a bloody nose. So I'm trying to deal with all that.
Oh man,
who's she fighting over there? You got a UFC near your house or something?
I don't even know. First, she comes in crying, holding up her iPad. The screen has like little green lines through it. I was like, "What the?" Right? And then I'm like, I mute it, and I'm like, "Hey, we'll get it fixed. Whatever. Go back." She comes back. She's like, I'm over here trying to pay attention to you guys, but no. Okay, so anyway, no, I thought Moicano had it. I thought he had, and then I think he just gassed himself out because after that, he's breathing heavy. Just completely. Besides that one moment, the fight, wasn't even. It was Dariush had it. It was just like, and I was that one moment. I was stoked because I had money on Moicano. And I was like, hell yeah, money Moicano's about to make me some money. And then I was like, and I was just trying to send my energy through the TV. I was like, he's gonna get it. And nah. And then but I just it was a dominant fight, but yeah. So
yeah,
I lost.
Me. Well, I was the only one that picked Moicano, and then Steven and Meyer had Dariush. So Moicano has to go back to the drawing board and kind of reconfigure what he does in the next fight. But let's move on to maybe one of the fights of the year so far. In the flyweight division, we had Josh Van defeating Brandon Royale by unanimous decision. And the theme of this fight was volume versus power. When our guy Royval, when he was throwing a lot of volume, but when Van was returning, you could just tell like just the difference in power. And even going into the third round, the fight was up in the air or who was winning or not. And what was the difference in that last minute? Van just started throwing these side kicks that were bothering Royval, and then with about 20 seconds left, Van caught Royval with a nice left hook, and then in the last 10 seconds, he dropped him with that right hand and almost finished him, and that won him the fight. Terrific fight. I need to go back and watch this again because, like I said, it might have been one of the fights of the year. What are your thoughts on this one, Meyer?
Yeah, for sure. This would definitely be my pick for fight of the month, possibly fight of the year. It was just back and forth between both of them, almost 800 strikes thrown. Between both of them, over 400 strikes landed. I haven't done any research, but this has to be one of the fights with the most strikes. It's got to be, probably top 5, top 10. That's a lot of strikes, and just neither one of them was ever out of the fight until like that last 10 seconds. It just never seemed lopsided. I think Josh Van landed the better shots throughout the fight. But it's not like he ever really pulled away. It's not like he was ever fully ahead. To me, it just seemed like, okay, I think he's ahead, but you never know what the judges are thinking. You don't know if he's 100% got it on the judges' scorecards. That's one of them fights, man, that you can go back and rewatch, and you could probably score it differently each time you watch it. It's one of those fights that I wouldn't be mad if they ever ran it back in the future. That many strikes landed. I was just surprised that it went the distance. They were just throwing everything but the kitchen sink. It was really cool. And a fight that went that long with no takedown attempts, no takedowns, no submission attempts, just getting after it. There's no way that anybody in that arena could have booed or not been impressed. You always have those hardcore people that just bleed bros that want to see violence. This had to be the fight that made them all happy.
Yeah, for sure. Steve?
Yeah, this was a amazing fight. Part of me thinks Brandon Royval didn't expect Van to be this good. And to go for tap with him, but he did. And like EJ said, I think what was the difference is every time you see they were in the pocket or exchanging, you can see Royval had the more damage of the situation than Vaughn, although he was getting popped too very good. No taking away from Royval. But you start seeing, especially at that last round, which people can argue it can been went out as a tie, but I think he solidified it when he knocked him down for that last go. And I think that's what did it for him in the eyes of the judge. And, people say it, but I think the judges even go off, how damaged your face is, which, Vaughn looked pretty much facially cleaner than Royval. He had some damage on his face. So I think that's what got him the fight. And I think the damn fight was so good, when you're watching the fight, I damn near thinking it was a 5-round, because it was a top, Royval. I think he was contender number 1. So it psyched me to forget it's not a 5-rounder, because that fight was good enough to be a fight night, or let alone the co-main, let alone a main event.
Oh yeah, definitely, especially on the fight night card, definitely. But what are your thoughts on this one, Chris?
Man, it was a bar fight, man. Even some 2 gentlemen behind me started tugging behind me after watching the fight. They thought they was at UFC there. I was like, yo, y'all need to chill out at the party. It was a good fight, man. Honestly, they got to run that back, I feel, like, to do it justice. I would feel like that last round, and I just fell to the floor like that. Like, you gave it to him. I mean, even though throughout the fight, it wasn't that far. Like, I think they just got to run it back. There's a lot of, like, what if I did this? What if I did that from the fighters? So it was a great fight, though, overall.
I think eventually they will probably run this back, maybe next 3-4 years, maybe, eventually, especially in that flyweight division. But what are your thoughts on this one, Daniel?
You know what? I mean, it was a great fight, and I could easily see this being kind of a Moreno Figueroa, type of little rivalry that they, and run it back a couple of times, because I think if it wasn't for that knockdown at the end, I really would have been curious to see the way the judges actually scored it. And you could tell that Royval knew it was that close, because when he got up, after the bow, he was like, you could see him, mouthing curse words, because he knew that's what did it. He knew how close it was. And then as soon as he got up, he was like, damn it. Like, he was just so frustrated because it was that damn close that something like that knockdown just settled the whole fight. It was just put it up in the judges, on the judge scorecards like that. And I thought one thing that was super cool is, so for the last Josh Van's like 5 or 6 fights, every time that fool comes out, I always, until like maybe the last fight before this one, would always bet against him. I always bet against that fool. And he's just been just showing up every time. And finally, I had to give him his props the last couple of fights. And I was like, all right, this dude, he really is. He is, I don't want to say the answer, but he's definitely holding his own in this division. And I think Admire, like you were saying, it's got to be some kind of record. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was a flyweight record for the most strikes landed. And it was over 400 or something that they had. It was crazy, but I could definitely see. My favorite part, I think, was a fight or two later. I forget if maybe it was the next one. Josh Van, they panned the camera to him, and that fool sitting ringside, octagon side, watching the next fight. So the fool had his little bandana on and his flag or whatever, and he was just like, they put the camera on him, and I just thought that and see, I think that shows how much he loves the sport, right? He could have easily, been in the shower, kicked it, been getting some grub or whatever, but that fool was like, whatever, you kind of wash me up a little bit, and I'm going back out there to watch the rest of the event. So I thought that was hella cool. And he's definitely, I'm a fan of him. Not only this fight, but I feel like this fight solidified me being, on the Josh Van wagon.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people expected him to put on this performance, especially with a big jumping level of competition. Me, Admire, and Steve picked against him, and he proved us wrong. He just fought 3 weeks ago in the last UFC pay-per-view, which is insane. And we'll talk about the fallout of this fight in a little bit, because we're gonna move on to the co-main event. Go ahead.
Well, hold on. I found it. This fight is already posted in the record books as the number 3 most significant strikes landed in a fight. It's 3rd place at 419. Number 1 is Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar. Number 2 is Rob Font and Marlon Vera. And This one's number 3. So it was pretty close to the record.
I don't remember the you said Raw Fun and number 2 was Raw Fun and
Marlon Vera.
I don't remember that fight, but I remember the Max Holloway Qatar fight. That was pretty one-sided, just Holloway just beating his ass. That was like on the ABC card, I want to say. Yeah, that's crazy. You know, like you said, that's one for the record books. But moving on to the co-main event, your flyweight champion Alexandre Pantoja defeating Kai Kara-France by submission rear naked choke. And in that first round, Pantoja dominated on the ground, and Kara-France looked kind of lost down there on the mat. I know he's with City Kickboxing, so I'm guessing they don't roll around on the mat. They take it literally as far as City Kickboxing goes. But in that second round, they stayed on the feet, and Pantoja was the more busier, accurate fighter. And then moving on to that third round, Pantoja eventually got it down to the ground, got that body triangle, and got the rear naked choke. What was your thoughts on this one, Admire?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like you said, the first round was ground fighting. Second round was standing up. I was like, okay, they're just going to kind of go through all the different styles of fighting. But Pantoja just, you know, it was kind of clear to me from the beginning that Pantoja was just the more well-rounded fighter. Kai Kara-France kind of just didn't seem on that level. I was like, man, this is a championship fight, and he just doesn't seem like he's up to par with it. He did kind of look one side, you know, just like single focused on like the striking game. Like he just didn't seem real comfortable with the ground fighting. So I mean, at least he has something to go back on and knows what he needs to practice with. But you know, it just wasn't a very interesting fight for me personally. This is where I started getting tired of the night. I was like, man, this fight's dragging ass. Like, come on.
I mean, but it could have went 5 rounds, but he got him out of there in the third round. So I'm sure you woke up when that happened.
Yeah. I was like, thank God.
Steve?
Yeah, Pantoja came out in dominant fashion. I liked how he used certain ways to get him down. But obviously, you can tell that Kai Kara-France, I mean, you could tell he practiced. I can see he was trying to do advanced transitions to get out of that grappling situation, but you could see Pantoja was one step ahead all the way. It seemed like every time Kai Kara-France moved to get in a better position, it put Pantoja in a better position in that first round when he was on the ground. Every time he moved, seems like he turned to his side, mount, turned to it, he had his neck, turned to it. He's always in a dominant position. And then you know, Kai Kara-France, you see for this style of fight would be his advantage. Saw he didn't have an advantage in the second round. And which told me like it was downhill from them. And like Admire said, I was like, at this point, man, just I already know who's better, just finish him. And it came the third round to where he decided to just take him down. And I think it was so easy to where Pantoja just went in to punch and wasn't even concerned if he was going to get hit because he knew he was going to get the takedown. It's almost like he was smothering him while he was overhanding. And like I said, I guess there's levels to it. And I think this is Kai Kara-France's second time.
Yeah.
You know, and
title.
I guess there's levels to it. So
yeah,
big ups to Pantoja.
Definitely levels to the shit. What are your thoughts on this one, Chris?
By the second round, it just seemed like it was a matter of time, to be honest with you. You know, you knew it was coming, but you just didn't know when. In the third round, I think it happened. That's when it went down. That's pretty much it. It just seemed like one person was just a little bit more better than the other one. Like I said, just a matter of time.
Yeah. And Pantoja did what he needed to do. What are your thoughts, Daniel?
I just thought it was so. I was actually a little surprised that for this matchup because I felt like Pantoja is just so much of a better fighter than Kai, and I like Kai Kara-France. I think I've always been a fan of him. He seems like a cool dude. I mean, it just looked like when Pantoja kept getting him in that body triangle, he was just like I forget who was saying it was. I don't know if it was Steve or who, but it was just he was so outclassed on the ground that he kept turning into him and let him pull the body triangle tighter. And I was just like one time he got him down, and Pantoja gets his foot barely hooks the triangle, right? And then Kai turns and lets him get it in tighter. And I was just like, it was a clinic that Kai went to, and he I feel like, I mean, obviously you got to be confident, like we were talking about, Wilder and them beforehand, but when Kai came out and he's doing the whole tongue thing and everything, I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if you should be doing all that. I mean, it's cool to be confident, but I kind of felt like it was going to go the way it did. And I mean, eventually it did. I mean, they didn't even need the full fight for it. And it was just, man, took the judges out of it, and just, man, it was bad. It was bad.
It was definitely bad. And there's a conversation that needs to be had as far as Pantoja and where he ranks as far as all-time flyweights, but we still got to talk about the main event, so we don't have time for that. But I do want to ask, because after the fight, we had Van go in the cage, and like Dan was talking about earlier, he was sitting cage side. He didn't even look like he got in the fight, really. He was just chilling there. But that seems like the fight they're going to make next. So, man, that's another jump up in competition. Do you think he would be competitive against Pantoja? I'll let you kick it off, Amaya. You think that would be a competitive fight?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, especially after what we saw earlier in the night out of Van. So, I mean, why not? Everybody's kind of riding high on him. You just see, what might be fight of the year after what he put up. And, why not?
Steve?
Of course, because we saw Royval totally not get destroyed as far as damage, but lost to Pantoja. And if Van can do that to Royval, how good Royval, at least competition-wise, we know he was outskilled, but Pantoja beat him. And Van just beat Royval, I think he'll but then again, I might have to change that, because they never attempted his test his ground game, I don't think, sort of Royval. But I don't know how Van would do against Pantoja's ground game as we saw against Kai France. So that's probably the info I'm missing from Van. I need to see a fight that he's had, maybe to see his grappling level. But as of right now, I have missing dialogue on his grappling. So I don't think he would do well with Pantoja with the ground game, because I think that's what exactly he used for Royval to win.
Chris, you think Van make it any type of competitive if he win against Pantoja, I guess, within the next year?
Well, you gotta see his game on the ground to see how that is. But yeah, of course, this is a great way to capitalize on it. Just to get that out there to the world. Great by UFC to get that out there like that, and I think it was good marketing right there. That was great marketing, actually.
Daniel, what do you think if Van gets in there within the next year against Pantoja?
I'm in the same boat as Steve. I think that I can't remember Van being on the ground and seeing any of his. I don't know how his defense is. I don't know how. I mean, in this fight in particular, there was just there was so much striking that I didn't even. There wasn't even like a sprawl or anything for an attempt at a takedown that we get to see. So off the top of my head, I don't know Van's ground game. I don't know if he has much of one. I don't know if he's ever been challenged in that way, just off the top of my head. So I don't know, but I've always doubted Van, like I said in the past, and he's always surprised me. So if you get him in there with Pantoja, I don't know. Maybe he might surprise me again. But if I had to put money on it right now, I would put my money on Pantoja, because I know his full game. I know his, and I feel like if Josh Van's ground game was that memorable, maybe, when he fought whoever, I remember he took him to the ground, or they took him to the ground and he easily popped back up or whatever, I would feel a little more confident in Van. But right now, I would have to put my money on Pantoja. But I think it would be a dope fight regardless, because Van's a dog. So I think it'd be dope.
Well, for the record, Joshua Van has 2 wins by submission. None have been in the UFC. They were before he was in the UFC. And he has 1 loss by submission, and that was also before the UFC. But I would note that one of the submissions was a calf slicer. Not a very easy submission to pull off, so maybe he does have a decent little ground game. The other submission was a rear naked choke.
Yeah, I think it's even though, like you said, he does have some submission wins, but that was not in UFC. I just think it might be a little bit too soon. Like, not everybody could be a prodigy like John Jones and win the belt at 23 when John Jones won it. I think a good example of what may happen is like when GSP fought Matt Hughes early on, when GSP was, not quite GSP, and he lost, and he went back to the drawing board and learned from that, and eventually became GSP. So I think Van would probably lose if they fight within the next year, but he's still 23, so I think he'll still be a champion in the flyweight division. Just might be a little bit too soon, but I think it'll still be a banger if they do put that fight on next, because Pantoja's kind of running out of the people he could beat. He's pretty much cleared the division out, so we'll have to wait and see if they do make this fight next, which it seems like they are, and how it goes and how everything falls out from that. But like I said, we'll keep an eye on that. But let's move on to the main event, fellas. For the vacant lightweight championship, we had Ilia Topuria defeating Charles Oliveira by KO first round. He called his shot. So these guys in that first round came out swinging. Oliveira, I guess he was like, fuck this. He got in the clinch and took it down to the ground. But it was weird how he did it, because Topuria kind of reversed it when they were going on the ground and ended up on top. And Oliveira almost got that ankle lock, but Topuria fended it off. And when they got back to the feet, right hook by Topuria, followed by that left hook at the same time. And it was good night, Irene, and your new lightweight champion, Ilia Topuria. What were your thoughts on this one, Haymaker?
Man, I've been trying to think ever since this fight, and I cannot come up with anybody to compare Topuria to. He throws every punch so hard. Like, every fighter you watch, they throw the little touches out there, the little jabs, the little feelers. He don't do that. Everything he throws is bad intention, and there's so much power behind it, and there's nobody else like that. Like, it's just unreal how much power the guy puts behind every punch. And I went back and I watched like a whole montage of all his knockouts today. For his size, I think he's 5'6", I think. He came from 145. This fight was a 155. This dude is just absolute dynamite in his hands, dude. And you've seen it knocking Oliveira out, but man, it's scary how much power this dude packs. There's really not much you can really say about the fight itself. Oliveira's only chance was to get a hold of this guy and try to submit him. But as you've seen from Topuria's last fights, like, he's got a good ground game as well. He's got good escapes. You can't really stay a hold of this guy. I can't remember who said it pre-fight. Another fighter said, I'm not gay, but like, I gave this dude a hug once and all you feel is solid muscle. Like, Topuria is nothing but solid muscle. So like, you can't even stay a hold of him and keep him down. So, this guy's going to be a problem for a while. Great fighter. He's quickly becoming one of my favorites to watch. Like, it's just highlight reel fight every time.
Steve?
Yeah, he has his own unique style, and what makes him so special is that his other skills outmatch other people's skills that are high-level champions. Like that takedown where Oliveira had the double underhooks and then Topuria had the overhooks. 99% of the time, Charles would have got that takedown, but he fell so awkwardly. You can tell that Topuria shifted his weight, so he can be on the ground. I was like, man, that he knows wrestling, he knows grappling, and not only that, his forte is striking. And we've seen him go against people to be tested. Oliveira is number one of those people who have grappling game amongst many. And we just see him master them as far as even getting out of that leg lock, which a lot of people, Charles was able to reverse and get their back off of that type of reversal, And like Admar said, man, any position he's in, left or right, damn rockets in his hand, and the way he's knocking these dudes out who have, I mean, come on, Volkanovski, Max Holloway. If Gaethje wants it, he can get it. I believe. I think he can snag all these people's jaws. I got a new favorite fighter. He really showed me something on Saturday. I really like Topuria. He's getting in all aspects. Wrestling, like, y'all can take me anywhere, but I'm gonna knock you out.
Chris, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, Aaron Myers said it, man. Like, the guy can just throw punches, bad intentions with both hands. Like, he's not in. He went in there with one mission and one mission only, to end the fight, and he got it done early. Like, he wasn't playing no games tonight. I mean, that night. So it was exciting. Like, for me watching him, this is like my first fight actually watching him. I'm late in the game in this, so I'm watching him. I saw his highlights, so I knew it was gonna have something special. I didn't know it was gonna be like this. Like, he made a fan out of me. Like I'm like, wow, this guy is fireworks right here. He's going in there not playing any games. So I'm a huge fan of him right now. Can't wait to see his next fights. And the sky's the limit for him. Like, I didn't like he went up in weight. That's what y'all saying. Like, he started.
Yeah. He vacated the featherweight, and
all the featherweights are so happy to get him away from them. Like, get him out of here. This guy's a problem.
It's funny you said that, because Sean O'Malley looked at the highlights and he was like, I'm glad he didn't accept that when he called him out when he was champion.
Yeah. Daniel, what are your thoughts on this fight?
I love Ilia. I think he's such a badass. And one of the things that I feel like he backed up, unlike Kai Kara France, who came out with the and then and then gets strangled. One thing that I heard Ilia say, when, I don't know if you guys listen to Joe Rogan, but when he was on Rogan for one of his MMA podcasts or whatever, he had said, I always know I'm going to win, so when I'm training, I'm thinking about how I'm going to do it to make it entertaining. And I'm like, damn, like that. I was like, this dude's talking about like that. Like, he's not even worried about even, there's no doubt in his mind whatsoever that he's going to lose. He's like, I know I'm going to win. I'm just thinking about how I'm going to do it. How am I going to make it? Because he was saying, like, people pay a lot of money to come watch us. I'm not trying to be a boring fighter. He was like, people, I mean, you got to think about it. People on their night out, they got to get a babysitter. They got to get a hotel if they're not from town, whatever. And he's like, I want to give people their money's worth. And I'm not sure if it was Kobe or if it was Jordan that had said one time about, you never know if a little kid coming to watch you is going to be like their first time watching you, or, whatever. And it's true. You're coming to watch these dudes, and the people that do kind of just the Chavez Juniors, right? The ones that are like, I got paid, well, whatever. But what if some little kid there is there to watch you and you can inspire them? I felt like having that dude say that kind of stuff and then watch him do it and in such a beautiful way, to just, I mean, Charles is a freaking legend, so to do that to a legend like Charles, and just like, man, he was, when he knocked him out, to me, it was like, almost like when freaking Kukui, what the hell's his name?
Tony Ferguson.
Yeah, Tony Ferguson. When was it Chandler that kicked him, knocked him out? It was you see a legend like that go down, and you're just like, oh damn, that hurt me, because it's just like so much in that second, that legacy, not that Charles' legacy is now over, but just to see that, you hate to see a champ like that just go down in that fashion. But Ilia's that bad, man. He is a bad man. And they did bring out, both of his belts. He vacated one, but, and that was one thing I thought was kind of whack, was they kept promoting it as, only this many fighters are a double division, champion or whatever. And I'm like, he vacated it, so not technically, but I see what you're saying. But it was just kind of like, definitely an accomplishment, but he can't hold a belt that he no longer is retaining, So that was kind of weird.
Yeah, but that kind of had to make Volkanovski feel some type of way, because Volkanovski's the featherweight champion right now. So.
Can you imagine like somebody come out with your bout, I'll be like, that's me coming on your show with the t-shirt that says EJ on it. You'd be like, fool, get your ass out of here, So I don't know.
My bad.
Go ahead, Steve.
I said those featherweights know who Daddy is. He said, keep my belt warm before I come back. He beat Volkanovski. I mean, he proved a big point. Where he's like, man, what's the point? Let me go over here. Because even if those two even fought, which was Volkanovski and for him, Volkanovski to get the belt, who did he just fight?
He fought. It was Lopez. Didn't he fight Lopez?
Diego Lopez.
Yeah, he wasn't worried about none of them. And that's how amazing he went to see a goal and not settle for less, and didn't hold up a division to see how much that shows his integrity as a man too. Most people wouldn't have done that.
For sure. So 2 things before we get on out of here. Post fight, you pan to the crowd, you see Justin Gaethje. He was like shit, like he didn't want none of that. Who else did they pan to before Pimlet? They panned over to Armin Sarukian. He looked like he didn't want any of that. They panned over to this blonde hair.
It's like just calling people to read, and you kind of look down. You're like, shit, I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Camera was panning over, and everybody just automatically started, engaging in a conversation with their neighbor or something. Like, hell no, like nobody wants that smoke. I'm telling you.
They panned over to Paddy Pimblett. He was all smiles, and lo and behold, Joe Rogan told him to come on in the cage and face to face. And like you said, he had his 2 belts on, and he did this little T-Rex arm push, and it's on and popping. And post fight, Dana White's like, this shouldn't have happened. I'm like,
yeah, and it was pissed. I was mad.
Are you fucking kidding me? Like, this is perfect promotion. And on the other show, we're talking about lack of stars, and like, this is like, in mind, you definitely had to like this. But then reading more about it, the reason why he didn't like it, I saw like an extended part, is because the kids and the wife were in the case. All right, I get that, why he's saying. But still, at the end of the day, any promo is good promo, and that's a way to get this on and cracking. So what are y'all thoughts on this whole post-fight and Paddy Pimblett possibly being the next opponent? I'll let you kick it off, Admire.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like you said, we always talk about they need to find their next superstar, with especially like, John Jones announcing his retirement within the past couple of weeks. They need to find that next big star. I think that, Topuria can be that next big star, and Paddy Pimblett has the European, market kind of cornered. So why not put these 2 in there together and see what you can do business wise? Because either way, you're going to win as a business and come out with your next big star. The buildup's going to be huge. The world tour going on, the media tour, everything around it could be huge. So, we've said it before. Like, why are they not business smart and throwing their money into this? Why are they not doing exactly what a good business should do? Like, they're just trying to do the opposite of it. Like, I don't know. I don't get their logic.
Steve?
Oh yeah, I think there's even for MMA fans who do the rabbit hole dig or just do everyday knowing knowledge of MMA. I think they had an altercation, at a hotel or something.
Yeah, I've heard about that, but I didn't get to read into it. But go ahead.
Yeah, so there's a storyline behind that. We have Paddy Pimblett, always calling him a Spanish sausage. He always calls him that. And, they don't like each other. And so I can see promotion because, Paddy Pimblett does have fans, and I think he had people who wanted him to lose. But as of lately, I think of now he's gained a little bit of respect amongst MMA fans to where he can start entering the limelight of fighting some of these high-class dudes as far as having his own social, gathering himself to be promoted as such. And another character enters the chat. I think Paddy Pimblett's been having a good, this can be a Topuria test because Paddy Pimblett's been looking very good on his grappling as of lately. I think it'll be a good fight, but that matters how far Pimblett is in the so-called rankings.
Yeah, Chris, what do you think about the post-fight shenanigans and whatnot?
Well, this is good marketing. The UFC needs a superstar. They can develop this. They have a storyline with these two guys, so they can bounce off of that. Hopefully, create a superstar out of this. And I think it's a legendary move for the UFC to do right now. So they're just throwing things at the wall. Again, like we always say, they need a superstar. So this is a good way to get some eyes on the sport. You know, they have a background, so this is great for them.
Daniel?
First of all, I think Dana White's full of it, man. Talking about, oh, I don't know why they let him in the cage and this, whatever. I mean, when just before that, Amanda Nunes, he's over here, why aren't they letting her in? You know, for that post fight. And now he's over here saying, "Oh, I don't know, it's because I wasn't there." Shut up, Dana. You know, this is all good promotion. Even if they don't make the fight, that right there is just clips and for their TikTok and all that good stuff, whatever. So he's full of it. He tries to. I think it was just a power. All comes to power. Daddy didn't say it was okay. So you guys, I can't believe you guys went out to go play. Like, no. Like, come on now. Just it was a little weak. I thought that was kind of weak. One thing I love though about Patty is that he has, like, I mean, if I'm gonna insult somebody and I have to be like that bitch ass, whatever, my insults are weak, right? But Patty can come with some stuff like Chris over here, Christopher looking like a cold potato, and you're like, what the fuck does that even mean, dog? You're like he has some insults that are so weird. I've told you from day one he's a lumpy tomato, or whatever. You're like, what the like? It's just the weirdest shit ever. But it's cool because, like, I don't know, man. Maybe we go over to his country and we have some shit that's just kind of weak here. Maybe slaps over there, right? They're like, oh, he called him a bitch ass mofo or whatever, And like, but it's just funny. So Patty's always entertaining. People love to watch his journey with his, he's 250 pounds before his fight and then he's 130, his fight day of. He's like, how does he do it? So Patty's entertaining. So I would love to see him, but I'm just excited. I thought post fight was cool. Yeah, man. I was actually pretty happy with this card, so I can't complain.
Yeah. Overall, this was a banging card. Like, might have not got the most mainstream, attention, but definitely a fight fans card. But to wrap this up, we'll never see a star as big as Conor McGregor. That was lightning in the bottle. He hit at the right time. Because I was thinking about who hits the hardest Topuria in the lightweight division. The only person you could think of like a knockout artist like that is probably Conor, but he didn't do it for long enough. So I think Topuria has a chance to being all-time great if he stays on track. And like I said, we'll never see a Conor McGregor, but I think you could see another like GSP. You know how popular GSP was. You can make Topuria into like maybe another GSP, even if he doesn't, peak as much as some fighters did in the US. But you got to think of the bigger picture worldwide. Topuria speaks with like 4 different languages: English, Spanish, Georgian. I think he speaks a couple other languages, and so you can market that worldwide and just make him a big star overall. So I think you're the UFC, like, you need to capitalize on that and strap the rocket to this kid, because like we said, there's lack of stars and as far as household names, so you got to do it. But I don't know, this whole TKO era, I don't really have faith in it. I don't know if anybody wants to chime in before we wrap on up.
I would like to add one thing. UFC channel has never posted a main event fight the same damn night. I saw that, I'm like, and it got 10 million views in one day. Topuria is a star.
Yeah, see, you just reminded me. I was going to say the exact same thing. I remember that night. I was like, man, the last time I remember them doing that was when I think it was when somebody got knocked out. I was like, man,
Piera.
It was when somebody got knocked out, and I was like, man, the UFC don't like them because they never post a main event. Wasn't it
Piera when Piera got that knockout? They posted it right away.
Something like that. But yeah, I mean, they instantly posted the knockout. So I was like, man, the UFC, they're throwing some weight behind this kid, because they normally wouldn't show that, and it was right away. It was within 5 minutes. The UFC had it posted to like Facebook, Instagram, and shit like that. So they're seeing something with him. But I mean, I'd like to see him do the Patty Pimblett thing, because you're going to get a lot more eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they got it right on the table, but I don't know. Gaethje's there too. You can't go wrong with either fight. But Gaethje, I don't know. What was the fight that he had? It was a. Who did he beat recently? Was it Holloway? Not Holloway. Poirier.
He got knocked out by Holloway.
Yeah, he got knocked out by Holloway. That was 300, and he face planted 1 second left. But was it Did he get a win over Poirier? I feel like he hadn't won a big one recently, and he's like,
yeah, I think his last win was Poirier.
He was barking at like
against Poirier. He's about to rematch Poirier, I think. He got what was it? It was Gaethje and Poirier who had a feud.
Gaethje won against Fiziev. Lost against Holloway. Won against.
He head kicked
Gaethje beat him with a head kick the second time.
Yeah. His last win was Fiziev, lost to Holloway, beat Poirier, beat Fiziev again before that, lost to Oliveira, beat Chandler, lost to Khabib. Yeah.
So I mean, he's threatening to retire if he doesn't get the next title match. But like you said, Pimblett is on the table. So you know how UFC, they don't take kindly to threats of retiring. They'll be like, go ahead and retire. So
Dana White told him if you have thoughts of retiring, then just retire. So they're not going to go for it.
Yeah, they definitely have options with Topuria being a champion now, and you still got Islam who went up. If he gets the welterweight title, they're going to be chomping at the bits to make that super fight. But we will see how things unfold in the future. But we've gone kind of long with this episode, but there's more content for y'all to digest, and make sure to follow us on all the social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all that good stuff. And Daniel, we appreciate you being on. Tell the people where they can find you at.
Just at After Show BL, but later, right? After Show BL on all social media. That's pretty much I have my own personal social. I don't use any of that. I just use After Show BL across all social media. Yeah, man, go check us out. Almost 300 episodes of just, even if you don't want to watch them, just let them play in the background when you go to sleep and get our reviews up,
Yeah, make sure to check that out for sure. And we would definitely love to have you back on here for a big fight in the future for sure. And it's been fun. But that'll do it for us here at Haymaker Combat Sports. Until next time, be safe out there. Later.
This is Haymaker Combat Sports. Here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet science, MMA, you can get it all from us. Trust, 5 stars, cause it's